So I heard you guys have something cooking up for your event. What is it?
For SoCal. So what bomb do we want to drop first? Are we going to talk a little bit or are we going to toss, here I am, doing everything I can? Which one?
Oh, man.
Which one is the bigger bomb to drop?
Let's go with the...
Why don't you tell him? You kind of... By the way, that was not the Tetris theme song. Ben's back there just crying with all 100 copies he has.
The funny thing is I was trying to figure out what I was like, what are they talking about? I was like, what?
All right, go ahead. This is an S show right now.
So that big announcement for SoCal Gaming Expo, June, you could give our shout out, June 8th and 9th.
Yep. All right, so guys, if you haven't heard it already, SoCal Gaming Expo is going to be June 8th and June 9th of 2024. Get your tickets now. They're still available all the way up until the event. I'm going to tell you right now, the link will be in the description with the site name and everything.
SoCalRetroGamingExpo.com.
Boom.
So let me just preface even talking about the announcement, but when we bought SoCal, right, it was a very slimmed down, bare bones, call it vendor show, I would say.
It was like almost like a trade show between vendors.
Yeah, and it was still a good show, and it was well intended. Yeah, nothing against Jay. That's the way Jay likes to run his shows. When we bought it, the intent was...
I just wanted to say that's the way game chasing go.
Yeah, which is right. That's game chasing if you want to go game chasing. But the idea was to obviously enhance that, have more, a lot of other things.
Yep.
So one thing that we'd been working on for a long time, well, actually not necessarily a long time. Let me just say what the announcement is. The Tetris World Championships will be moving from Portland Retro Gaming Expo, where it's been for quite a long time.
Long years.
Yeah, long time, to SoCal Gaming Expo.
That's big news, by the way.
It is really big news.
That is huge.
Such a downplay.
Have any of you guys ever been to it, first of all?
Yes.
You have. It is I've been to it 1 year as well. It is, to me, absolutely incredible.
They're so good.
It is unbelievable. And when I went to Portland, I want to say maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago, I ended up sitting in the Tetris World Championships for literally like 75% of the time watching that. I absolutely just loved it. So I had developed a relationship with Vince Clemente, who is the owner of that, of the World Championships. He founded it.
Yeah.
And that was probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago, through the stories, because Vince actually lives here in Long Beach. And so for a variety of reasons, Vince had wanted to move that show. Yeah. And it was almost just like perfect timing that we bought SoCal while Vince was considering wanting to move the Tetris World Championships. And for a variety of reasons. One is just proximity to Vince lives here.
Yeah.
Right. And I shouldn't speak for Vince. Vince maybe will come on.
We do want him on the podcast because I'd love to hear about, I mean, the Tetris World Championships is huge. This isn't just like, a game that nobody shows up to these events. I mean, this is thousands and thousands of people come to this.
Yes, thousands. Yeah, and they come from all over the world. Like they do regionals for the Tetris World Championships. We do one at Retro World. I know Game On Expo has one. I want to say they even do them in like Germany, and they're flying in participants in this from all over the world now. It's certainly it's grown year over year, and so to have it is awesome. One of the other reasons that Vince wanted to move it, from what he's told me, is that it being in Los Angeles, people flying in from all over the world, it's a lot easier to get to Los Angeles flights if you're coming from Japan, let's say, than necessarily to Portland.
Yeah.
So super excited to have them.
Dude, it's so cool.
We're still in early planning.
Well, and the big reason it's even bigger right now, I mean, at the time of us filming this, I know it's changed a little bit. I think Blue Scooty is his name, is the kid who just hit the final screen on Tetris. I watched like the whole documentary about it. Actually, before this, funny enough, while I was running, it was like an hour run. It was like an hour video about it. And it was basically going through. Tetris is like really catching momentum right now. Like as far as like, I know it's always been Tetris, it's always been big, but I'm actually finding myself being more interested in it because I was never too interested in it as a player myself. But after watching this and watching the way these kids and these people are just rolling their fingers and with their gloves on and all the different techniques to get these scores, it's caught my attention. It's caught the attention of major news networks. People are covering this thing like crazy. So it like the announcement of them moving the finals to SoCal during this was like a huge like peak moment, a climax, so to say. something Curtis doesn't experience very often. It's happening during this.
Yo, it didn't hit Chris until just now.
Well, because I was going to say it's like a Tetris, and then I was thinking it's like a climax.
But
anyway.
it couldn't be a better time for this all to happen.
It was all perfect timing with us buying the show and Vince and knowing him, and it just all really came together. Vince is such a good guy. He's so passionate about Tetris. He's built that thing from really just a small little like gathering of people to all these regionals across the world. And like you said, with just the timing of Blue Scooty.
Yeah.
Scuddy or Scooty beating it. So I don't see there being any decrease in interest in it anytime soon.
No.
And I think it's going to be one of the highlights of the show this year. It's going to be incredible.
So do I.
Dude, just to see like them play Tetris, like I mean, like you see the techniques right that, and like they tap the control. I was so like mind blown. I actually saw my first competition watch. I think I was in Game On.
Game On,
yeah. I was just sitting there and I'm just mesmerized. They start at like such a fast speed, and I'm like, there's just no way I could ever compete in this type of style of game.
It's unbelievable.
And you would think there's not many intricacies, right? Because when you run through, watch a speed run of a game, right? Let's say a first-person shooter, or not first-person shooter, dumb example, a third-person open-world game, right? There's Mario 64, and there's Ocarina of Time, there's glitches and ways to go in this, and there's all these different levels and water levels. But in this, you would think Tetris, okay, there's not going to be that too much to it. There is so much. I watched a whole breakdown of people with whiteboards, every frame of every color change and every pattern. If you do two here, it might do a kill screen, all this stuff. And I was just like, this is crazy, the level of detail goes in this. So my respect level for Tetris has like flown through the roof after watching all this stuff.
Yeah, and what Vince, hearing him talk about how people are always like still advancing year over year with it is pretty incredible. When they play it too, which I always thought was interesting, like Vince and they developed a program, because if you remember original Tetris on NES, it was just one player. You couldn't even play it two player. I believe the Tengen Tetris you could.
Yes. Yeah.
But they created a software where, it's keeping track of the Tetrises and who's up and the score differentials and a bunch of other stuff. That was a program created by them. It's a funny story. When we, the first year we did a regional at Retro World, Vince again lives here locally, and I was like, hey, can we do a regional? This was maybe like 4 years ago. Okay. And he was like, yeah, sure. He's like, but you need the program to run it. I was like, well, how am I going to get the program? I met Vince in like the parking lot of where my store is, and he handed me like 2 black boxes, which then I flew with the Tetris black boxes like on the plane, and they were like basically the computers to run that software.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
That's wild.
I know, it was crazy. So
that's some Matrix level stuff.
Yeah, I felt like it was like smuggling something, but it's just Tetris
that
computers.
And when we got SoCal too, like my biggest fear was like, let's get it and then do the same thing. Right? Not again, there's anything wrong with the same thing, but it's like, I didn't want to get it. We're on YouTube. Like there's a little bit more, face on us on our main channel. So it's like, I didn't want to take it over and be like, okay, we didn't do anything much different. So Tetris finals, huge. I mean, big. You guys will see when you go there that it's not like, 10 people show up to this. I mean, it's thousands of people come to this. But there's one other thing that I kind of wanted to have in the works. These guys were excited about it. Chris and I went and are kind of making this happen. As of right now, we don't know at this literal moment, but I'm 99% sure by the time this goes out that it'll be good to go. I wanted to do, and we're telling it now, like some sort of skateboarding thing, Tony Hawk tournament, right? But it's like, okay, everyone might do a Tony Hawk tournament, a Skate 3 like high score thing, or a skater die type thing, right? Something in skate culture. It's very California. It's very me. But I was like, I don't want to just do that. I want it to take it to the next level. So what we're doing, why don't you tell them?
So we're going to have don't know the whole setup, but some sort of setup, whether it's a skate ramp, full skate ramp, like a 5 foot, 3 foot, whatever it is, half pipe,
grind boxes,
pyramids, skate, park type area on the main show floor.
And hiring actual pro skateboarders to be there skateboarding like during some of these events to elevate it, to give you that full like, this is a California Game Expo. This is where this stuff lives. This is where the Baker Boys and the Huntington crew, like this is where Andrew Reynolds, these people were bred. Some of these biggest names in skateboarding. So real professional skateboarders will be there, and they're going to have a blast to themselves. I'm sure they're going to, once they're done skating, going to want to go kick it. What I'm trying to get done, and I pitched it yesterday, I want you to be able, Ricky, play skate against a pro, but how would that work? You're not a pro. Well, in Skate 3, you can kickflip 5-0 the ledge. All right, kickflip backside 5-0. All right, pro, do it in real life. And that's what they said they'd be able to do.
Dang.
So you could play them skate, video game versus real life.
Dude, that'd be actually insane.
I know.
Dude.
I thought of that yesterday while I was there pitching the idea to him, and he's like, "Yeah, we've done that before." And I was like,
so basically, you're gonna put up a screen, and then you guys do the trick, and then they're ready for it.
and then they have to do the trick as well.
There's so many awesome things we can do with it. And first of all, I give you credit because it was your idea. And
But your guys' excitement for it got me excited.
Yeah.
Because I was afraid I'd pitch it, and you guys were like, "Eh."
well, then there's always ideas, right? You always come up with ideas like, oh, we should do this, we should do this. And then actually taking ideas and figuring out the logistics is like a whole nother step of it. So we went and met yesterday with the guys that build these ramps.
And we will say, OC Ramps, great. If
Awesome
anything,
guy.
subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do it, please. If you do it, we might be working out something even bigger with them. Go support them. Let you know we sent you.
That's great.
Yeah, and these guys were awesome. They're local. They build these ramps all over the whole country. In fact, the world.
Victoria's Secret, they build ramps when they do events. They did the TMNT Mutant
They
Mayhem
had
premiere.
the craziest Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ramp. It was green on the deck,
Yep.
right? And then purple on the sides. It was for the Mutant Mayhem, like you said,
Yep.
movie premiere. So some of the stuff they can do with the ramps is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm beyond excited for it.
I will say yesterday when we were there, we're at OC Ramps and we're sitting there and I'm sitting at a table with Chris and I'm like, we're going over stuff and details and logistics. And I was like, I text my wife, I'm like living my childhood dream. And like, I couldn't
Dude,
be
that's
more
awesome.
thankful. Like I really am. I run a YouTube channel with all my homies, my best friends, talk about video games, nerd out podcasts. And now I'm bringing skateboarding to an event in our area where I got to kick it with the community. I'm like, this is literally my dream. Like if you would have asked me 10 years ago, write down your dream path, I'd be like, own a big event where it's a big, doing YouTube about video games, talk with my friends, going to swap meet every weekend, bringing skateboarding culture into it. Like I am doing all of that. So sometimes I have to like take it all in and be like, when I got done, I'm not going to lie, after I had lunch with you, I sat in my car and I was like, whew, like I got to like let it sit in and like, I have to be thankful for this moment because sometimes, you don't know where life can take you. All that stuff can be gone in a year.
That's very important.
So I had to
That's
let it settle in.
Stop and smell the roses.
Stop and smell
is
the rose.
what that
Thank
is.
God
I have
is the first thing I
a
did.
sign in my house that says that.
Does it really?
Yeah, it's to remind myself the same thing, to like pause and be like, damn, this is pretty awesome. what
Ricky
you're
has a
doing.
sign in his house that says, "Stop and smell the frijoles."
Yeah.
My favorite sign.
Dang, I want that sign.
Dude, that's like the epitome of like probably what you have dreamed of. That's crazy to me because like I'm sitting here, I'm almost hearing this like just as you guys are hearing it because I didn't get like
we didn't get to tell you about skateboarding.
I didn't get like the breakdown of it. I just got like photos of him being there, and I'm just like kind of jealous because I'm like, man, like I love skateboarding too,
Yeah.
but not to the where it's like because Riff used to like really be good. Like he was you're a flat ground skater for the most part.
I was good. Like I look at like, early 90s skateboarding, when I was like really into skateboarding, and the stuff I was doing was not much lower than a lot of the, amateurs at the time,
Yeah.
But I credited it before. Ryan Sheckler came on the scene, and that's when I really was like, okay, this new wave of Nigel Houston and kids they're like next level. Almost like what happened with Tetris, right? These kids come in and they're just like, oh my gosh, they're phenoms. So all, the granddads of it are just like, man, I'm good, but I'm not going to switch, cherry flip, crooked grind that 12-stair rail. I'm just not
Like
going
anything,
to.
I mean, like with anything, like with sports, it seems like every year it like gets crazier and crazier and crazier. Like these guys are doing like 14 stairs. Ryan Sheckler's jumping off onto like a obscure hill and somehow landing it like with a kickflip behind it. And then like what I remember from my childhood is the vert skaters. Like those events like Nitro Circus, the X Games, all those type of things.
Flashy.
The extreme sports.
Yeah.
Dude, you guys are kind of bringing that to like a small scale, but it's still there. Like that's gonna be crazy.
So like at Retro World, we have a wrestling ring.
Yes.
And at first there was other shows that had done this. Like I think Too Many Games was one of the first ones that had done it.
I remember that.
So we weren't necessarily the first, but when we decided maybe like 4 years ago, we were like, well, maybe we should implement this as well. You're kind of like, man, is this going to really work with the video game expo and stuff? But the meshing of the two, if you think about video games, like how how important wrestling has been in the video game scene, right? With all the N64 games and stuff, and still to this day.
Yeah.
There's quite a few other shows now across the country, I want to say, video game expos that do have wrestling rings. They pair very, very well. Yeah. But one thing you have never seen, which is another type game, which is skateboarding games, are so important. If you think of the Tony Hawk games.
The Tony Hawk games is like one of those ones where you could ask almost anybody if they played Tony Hawk Pro Skater and like, oh yeah.
And I'm not a skateboard guy by any means. If you put me on a skateboard right now, I'd just flip out and fall on my ass. Like I never have done it.
And that's what most people say is they did that because they were never good enough to do the stuff you could do in a Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
When Tony Hawk Pro Skater came out, I played the heck out of that game.
So
all of a sudden, I was like, dude, I'm a skateboarder. But I'm not. I don't, like when we met with OC Ramps yesterday, I'm like, dang, I kind of wish I knew anything about this.
It was so funny. We walked in and Chris like looked around. He's like, all right, this is your forte. You take the lead on this one. But it was like, I mean, it was so cool to go around and like look at all the ramps and all the way they did it, because as a kid you always, fantasized, and it was cool to see, which I actually would like to have him on, Tyler, who we spoke with, because he was telling us his story, and he's another dreamer who made it his lifelong dream come true. He was telling us when he was a kid, he would just build random ramps on the street, and before you know it, people are like, dude, where'd you get that? And he's like, I'll sell you one. And before you knew it, he built this empire. And it's like it's probably the biggest. I mean, they're known worldwide that everyone goes to OC. He showed us they're shipping ramps to Thailand right now and stuff because people want them.
It was an awesome operation. He was such a good guy. I think he said he started building those when he was like 17.
Yeah.
He was doing that.
He had everything we liked. We go in there, it's like, first thing we see is a giant Iron Maiden mural. I'm like, oh, Gabo would love that. Then he has Ninja Turtle action figures set up all over with toys. And I'm like, oh, Ricky would love that. And he's got guitars that you can grind outside. And I'm like, but like Chris was saying, and he said, he's like, we've never done this for like a video game type thing.
Nope.
No.
But it is such, 90s is so skateboarding, and it's so SoCal.
I think the closest they said they'd done to a video game was like CES. They said they did. Consumer Electronics Show.
But at that point, it was too just to like have people have something to look at.
Just as something to look at. Yeah. So they've never actually done a video game expo. Yeah. And like you said, this is almost like the birthplace of skateboarding, I would say. I don't know if it's the birthplace, but
not
it's like the
actual,
home.
But it's such a like Lords of Dogtown. It's so surfy. It's so California. It's so
California.
No, I think so. I think Huntington Beach was the birthplace of skateboarding.
I will not hold that because I don't know, but I do know like the guys of my time, like the big guys I followed, so many of them were known as like the Baker Boys, the Huntington crew. It was a lot of these guys that were like local to California.
Where was Lords of Dogtown? Where was that? Venice?
No, that's
I blanked.
I'm blanking out. Santa. Wait,
but it's definitely southern.
It's NorCal. I think it's NorCal.
Oh, it is NorCal.
Yeah.
I have to look.
I think so, but I'll have to go back to that. But you know what? Like that experience of you guys bringing ramps inside, it kind of just reminds me of those days when you're watching Bam Margera on MTV, and he builds it in his house. Oh, yeah. Steve-O, who's actually built one in one of his houses, he specifically bought a place, like a separate place next to his apartment, and basically rented out an apartment and built a ramp in the side apartment next to him.
That's crazy. Like when we film this normally goes out a month after we film it. So check now, like on our SoCal page, and see, because there might be updates of who's coming. I know Bam wants to come. We just have to see logistics on our ends and all that stuff. But even as far as that, we sat down last night and worked on guests, man.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
We got to, we can't say like, because none of them are confirmed. They all are on the list of people who can come. We just haven't hit like the check yet. But there are some people on there that are
there's some good
so
names
fun.
on there.
I know Riff's pulling out all his Rolodex of cards. He's like, hey, you owe me this?
Oh no, no, there's some that nobody brings to video game expos. Nobody.
Wow.
Because they're like so interesting. Mm-hmm. Do you want to say one of them?
I wouldn't say any announcements yet.
No announcement? Maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah. But
what if?
But there is something that we do.
Yeah, just say that one. Yeah.
Can I say the one I was most excited about?
All right.
I know which one you're going to say.
I know which one you're going to say too. Actually, I think
But none of these are
say his name yet.
You can't.
I won't say his name yet.
All right. Well, I think there is something that we. What?
He was E.T.
No way.
I won't say his name yet.
That's actually kind of crazy.
He was the man who played E.T.
There is something we need to get off for vendor availability.
Yeah.
Do you have any logistics on it?
So we have about 54 like vendor booths, 10 by 10s.
Yeah.
Left,
which is nothing.
So like 70% filled right now is where we're at.
Yeah, and as for the artist, there's like 3 spots left. So if you guys are watching this, they're probably gone by now.
So let me put this in perspective. How many booths did we have originally? Total available?
170 something.
I
And
think
now
it
we're
was
up to
238, right? Or two.
We're at 228 or 238.
Which is, I'm letting you guys know, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot compared to a lot of expos you go. This is a very large number. So we had to make room because they sold real fast. So it probably is going to be less by the time this video goes out.
Of course, yeah.
So if you want it, just go for it, get in there because it's going to be
and you don't
wild.
have to be like a professional, expo reseller
No.
either. Like maybe you have a big collection of games that you want to sell. A lot of times vendors like that do really well at shows.
I was going to say, sometimes those are the funnest vendors.
They're the best vendors. If you just have a big collection, it's a great way to sell. You can have a great time at the weekend. You get passes to the show included with it. So what other type of vendors are we looking for, Rick?
Dude, anything. If you have toys, games, like vintage, like clothing, like even like video game clothing, dude, people love that kind of stuff at the expos. That's what I look for at the expos. I'm like,
me too.
Well, the oddball stuff. I don't care what it is. If it's oddball, I love it.
Yeah, pop culture, even like VHS, anything vintage 80s, 90s.
I saw records.
When you guys see the guests, again, don't know who will be announced yet by the time this goes out, but you'll see that it's not like, we also wanted to focus on like nostalgia, right?
Yes.
Like, we know you like Back to the Future. We know you like E.T. Like, we want to make sure that not just video games, like, we're very passionate about like movies and people who are in these movies and things that are very like, what we were saying on the phone last night is like, some of the guests we're inviting, like, it's almost like you didn't know that you wanted them to be there until you walk by and you're like, that guy's here? Like, it's going to be that, which I'll tell you after. There's going to be a lot of those people where you're like, wait, what? Like, what's he doing here?
Because like, I love movies. So
so that's kind of what we wanted to bring into to a lot of like nostalgia as well.
And one of the best benefits of being here in Los Angeles is, of course, Hollywood.
Yep.
And there's all these people that live around here. It's much different than like Retro World in Connecticut flying people.
Put it this way, we were looking at a list of people who potentially want to come, and like, if they didn't live in California, they have to put like, CHI, like they live in Chicago, or Texas. VAN, like Vancouver. 90% of it was California.
Wow.
So it was like sweet.
Gnarly.
It was almost like 5 people out of 70 were not, so.
One of the guys I really wanted down, but he's far.
Who was it? You can say it.
Star Fox voice.
Yeah. Look at Chris with all the Star Fox stuff. He's like, who cares about that?
Ricky, where can they reach you to be able to get these vendor spots?
So you can just go on SoCal. Wow.
SoCalRetroGamingExpo.com.
Yeah. All right. Sick.
That's our expo.
or if you have questions or you want to email, it's Ricky at SoCalRetroGaming.com.
Sick. You got it out.
I can't put my finger in it.
I'm like, all right.
But like I said, guys, if you guys haven't yet, get your tickets right now. SoCal Gaming Expo June 8th and June 9th of 2024. And the Tetris World Championships are coming. It's 7th through the 9th. So it's going to be big.
And other big stuff in the works, too.
Oh, yeah.
Not for this, but a lot of other things.
We're not done. I just wanted to make sure that like we're keeping up to, I never want to go down in a legacy of not even like our name, but like of SoCal Expo. Like, we were the owners and it was like mid. Like, I don't want to do that. I want you guys to show up and be like, is that guy? Holy cow. Are people skateboarding, like pro skaters? Is the Tetris champion? Like, I want that with
me too.
An excess of booths for people who want to hunt or resell or collect. I want all that opportunity there for everybody.
And I think it's gearing up for what it's going to be as like a great weekend event. Not just like a one-day go-buy games. It's like come and, spend
Community
the whole
event.
weekend there with your friends and hang out. And so it's going to be incredible.
And I wanted to say thank you to everyone that already like applied and got booths because, dude, that's amazing. You guys are honestly like, you guys are awesome.
Ricky's been the vendor guy, so he's been working with you guys. Been working with him, and Ricky's been doing great on that too.
Dude, you guys are. Thank you so much for all you guys. Because honestly, it means a lot.